All righty, welcome back from that big-time commercial break. Recently, I conducted a phone interview with actor Jeffrey Weissman. Now, Jeffrey Weissman was in Back to the Future's Part 2 and 3, taking over the role of the wonderful George McFly, brought to life by Crispin Glover. Here are some highlights from that interview. All right, what's going on, Jeffrey? Or should I call you Mr. Weissman?
Yes, well, it depends. If you want to call me Jeffrey, you probably should buy me a drink first or something. How are you, TC?
I'm doing awesome there, Mr. Weissman. As you can tell, I'm too cheap to buy a drink, but that's all right. I'm doing great. How are things out in good old sunny California?
Sunny.
Unbelievable. Now, we're talking about fantastic career. Of course, this is my good longtime personal friend, Mr. Jeffrey Weissman, who's been acting now for what? Over 25 years, correct, Jeffrey?
35.
35 years. Well, I didn't want to age you there, buddy, but 35 years, and you have been in some of the biggest movies of all time. You've been in the Twilight Zone movie. Which segment were you of that was you in?
George Miller's segment, the Nightmare at 30,000 Feet. I've been in some of the least seen movies of all time, too.
Well, we're going to get into that later, but I want to make you sound like this is the greatest career of all time. But unbelievable. Were you around, speaking of the Twilight Zone, were you there around when the incident took place, the tragedy?
A terrible tragedy with the kids in Vic Morrow took place about 3 months before I even auditioned for the role that I played in that. When my agent called me to audition for it, I was completely surprised that Spielberg decided to finish that film because it was shocking that, Jennifer Jason Leigh's pop got. Anyway, yeah. So no, I wasn't around when that happened.
But that was your version was the one with John Lithgow that was based on the classic one with William Shatner.
Yes, with Donna Dixon and Abby Lane and J.D. Johnston and John Lithgow was brilliant.
I have to agree. That was probably the greatest segment of the Twilight Zone movie.
Well, there's no argument.
There is no argument there. Then you went on to Johnny Dangerously in 1984, a very underrated comedy by Amy Heckerling.
Oh, it was originally a musical.
It was?
Yeah, it was funny because, making a living as an actor right there wasn't in the cards yet for me, so I was doing any job that I could, and I sometimes would cater. I'd cater parties. I remember catering the parties for the Olympics that year when it was in L.A. Did all the ABC Sports parties. Anyway, but one of the parties we catered was the wrap party for Johnny Dangerously, and so I found myself serving drinks to Amy Heckerling and Michael Keaton, and I remember Michael leaning over to Amy and saying, "Wasn't he in the film?" It was very amusing.
And what part did you play in that film for the fans out there?
No, I played the T-shirt vendor. The I Heart Johnny T-shirt.
That is correct. I Heart Johnny T-shirts. Now, do you actually have one of those? Did you keep one of those from the set?
I did.
Unbelievable. You have Michael Keaton sign it and sell it on eBay and retire?
No. I think that shirt actually, I think the mice may have eaten that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I should have got Keaton's autograph on it. That would have been smart.
Give us the story about how you took over the role of George McFly in Back to the Future from Crispin Glover.
Well, I wasn't really necessarily told that I would be taking over the role. They met with me and started doing makeup tests, and then an audition. It was actually a makeup guy who told me that Crispin was out, and I was like, "You must be joking." I just couldn't imagine them doing it without him because I thought he was so brilliant in the first film. I found out at the 11th hour on a Friday before supposedly starting shooting on a Monday, and told my agents, this is more than a photo double body stand-in thing. Hold out for some good money, which is another story. But nonetheless, it was very exciting for me. I mean, on one hand, I was very disappointed and sorry that it didn't work out because I like Crispin's work, but I was also very excited to work on the project. It was great. It was a good, fun cast to be with, and everyone worked very hard and were centered and focused, and seemed like enjoying each other's company.
Now, can you give us a detailed about all the prosthetic makeup that went into creating you as George McFly? I mean, how many hours in the makeup chair did you have to sit?
3.5, 4 hours a day before being called on to the set. I'd report to makeup at about 4:30 in the morning to be ready on set by 8:30 or 9 o'clock.
Now, did you study? Did you have to sit there and actually go through the motions that Crispin did in part one, or did you add your own version of George to it?
Well, when we went back to the 1950s, the Chasing Biff with the Sports Almanac and all that stuff, we had to recreate the scenes from part one to make it consistent with the story. So naturally, we would, Tom Wilson and Leah Thompson, they're looking at their stuff, from the first film to recreate it accurately, as I did too for recreating George's stuff. In the McFly household of the future, though, that was pretty much our stuff. Though when Crispin was out, they had to make a lot of adjustments. Seamus in part 3 was supposedly going to be played by Crispin, and so they switched that up. Instead of me playing it, they had Michael play it. And then with different things in the McFly household of 2015, there were, I think, more lines, more things for business for Crispin to do, which they adjusted. They gave me less and less, it seemed, and I wasn't necessarily a part of a lot of the script readings. I don't think they invited me to any of the script readings, so it was unfortunate. I came up with a few things, though, in rehearsals, like when I'm hanging upside down at the door, and Fox, as Marlene opens the door, because of those orange hot pants that they put him in, my head being the same level, it looked like a big pumpkin to me. So how's Granddaddy's little pumpkin came out?
I remember seeing Back to the Future Part 2, and I knew going in that Crispin wasn't going to be in it, but I thought your portrayal was right up there. I mean, unless you didn't know, you didn't know.
I didn't know.
You didn't know. Well, let me tell you something. A lot of people out there didn't know, and that is a testament to your acting ability there, Mr. Weissman.
Oh, thank you. No, I, in fact, worked on a film yesterday, and an actor who's a seasoned vet, he when he found out that I was in that role, he said, I knew something was different, but I couldn't, wow. I was like, well, there you are.
Unbelievable. Now, before you actually took over the role, did you have to, did you talk to Crispin at all? Was he aware? Obviously, he was aware he wasn't doing the movie, but...
Sure, he was aware. He's not going to get his $1 million in his co-star billing or whatever he was holding out for. He probably wanted some script approval. I'm not sure, but I had called him also when I was up for it, because we had worked together on a film at the American Film Institute a year before he did the first Back to the Future film, and I called him up and left him a message. Help me out here. I'm about to my family's going to have another kid. I could use the work. Let me be your photo double. And I didn't hear back from him, of course, until he decided to sue at the end of when Part 3 came out.
Unbelievable. Now, Robert Zemeckis, one of the greatest directors of all time, I mean, he actually hid you away from the camera, so you really didn't see many close-ups of it, and it was a great illusion, I thought. I mean, you were probably the best special effect in that movie.
From your lips.
There you go. Unbelievable. Now, speaking of lips, you're talking about a big payoff. I would have given my right leg to be a George McFly in that movie. You locked lips with Leah Thompson.
Well, I'm wearing a bunch of prosthetics. I kind of felt sorry for her because she's, we're kissing, but it's like prosthetics. It's mask. I sort of felt sorry for her. It must have felt weird for her.
Confirm or deny? I saw an interview that Leah slipped you the tongue.
I can't confirm that. Not in public, no.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to wait for the Jeffrey Weissman autobiography then. Now, you've taken this George McFly character and you've gone all over the world to meet the fans from coast to coast and border to border. What's that experience like, 20-plus years later, of the fans coming up to you saying, I can't believe that wasn't Crispin Glover and you did an unbelievable job?
Well, that's the biggest payoff for my participation in those films is the fan base. It has been unfortunate that because of the controversy and Spielberg and Zemeckis sort of trying to and Canton and company trying to get away with whatever they wanted to pull on him, that me getting cut in the middle and brushed aside for any other work with those guys kind of sucks. But the biggest payoff is the fan base. I recently was at a fan convention and I had fans from 14 different countries come up and want my autograph and want to talk with me and tell me how much they enjoyed my work and those films. And for me, that's the biggest payoff. Just the really great connection with humanity on that level.
And that's what it's all about. And speaking of your humanitarian contributions, you have been a big advocate for the Parkinson's cure for Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, I do a lot of different charities, and I've raised quite a bit of money for Team Fox and the Parkinson's Research Foundation that Michael founded.
Well, Jeffrey, for people out there who want to get in contact with you, what's your big website?
Oh yeah, JeffreyWeissman.com. You take a look. I got lots of rare photos or links to stuff that I've done that you can only see online. Give me a shout.
Unbelievable. That's Jeffrey Weissman, and Weissman is spelled WEISSMAN.com.
I got a lot of different things coming out, you know.
Like what? Give us the 411.
I've got a co-starring role, not a huge one, but a role in a film with Christopher Lloyd, of all people, called The Chateau Moreau. That should be out this year. They're working on a distribution deal as we speak. I play Mark Twain in a film called Mark Twain in the Holy Land about his trip in 1867 that PBS is looking at to show this year. I've got a role in a film, a very funny film called Nobody's Laughing. I know that's a little contradictory, that it's very funny, but it's called Nobody's Laughing. I play a guy who, you'll like this, TC, who only feels like he's in his own being and self when he's made up as a clown. And that sort of leads to some complications. I don't want to ruin the story, but it's extremely funny. Another one called Kosher, in which I play a owner of a pickle family, pickle factory. And let's see, a couple other projects. I'm doing some live stuff right now, and always trying to keep busy, keep working, developing a couple projects. In fact, one film I want to do, the writer wants all the profits, if we get it made. She wants her profits and a portion of the film's profits to go to the Parkinson's Research Foundation.
Well, there you go. Unbelievable.
So if someone with deep pockets hears this and wants to invest in it, I'm trying to reunite all the principals from Back to the Future film series to make this film, because it's just a delightful comedy that is for a good cause.
Well, all I have to do is reach out to my good friend Stephen Clark over at BTTF.com. We'll make this happen.
Oh, you think so?
I know so.
Bring him on.
It's a challenge out there for everybody out there with deep pockets. You know, Donald Trump, if you're listening out there, I know you're a big Back to the Future fan. You want to see all the principals back together once again, not for a Back to the Future Part 4, but for a special project to help out Michael J. Fox, Marty McFly himself. Get off your ass, reach into your pockets, and donate. Can they go to JeffreyWeissman.com and contact you?
Yeah, by all means, inquiries through the website there. The hope is to find enough investors to either finance this thing or piece it together, or get one investor to do the whole thing that will be interested in leaving a legacy of a flow of money for that research until a cure is found.
Well, I'm making a challenge out there to Steven Spielberg, who's not hurting for cash at this moment in time. Why doesn't he fund it?
None of the phones are ringing, TC.
Oh, well, Jerry Lewis is no longer doing the telethon. I guess that's why. But let's just see. Come on, Stevie. Get out there. I mean, how much money did he actually make off Back to the Future? Give back. Get it? No pun intended.
I think they made $1 billion worldwide on those films.
Okay, $1 billion. And he couldn't give maybe like 2/4 of that to the Parkinson Research for Michael J. Fox?
You know, he might not be listening.
Well, I'm going to make sure he's listening.
Okay, you make sure he's listening, and I'll answer the phone.
All right. So if he does answer the phone, we'll just say on the plaque that's being dedicated, you have to say this was spearheaded by Jeffrey Weissman, but made possible by the rants and raves of one T.C. Rustani.
Yes, I'm part of history.
Unbelievable. Once again, JeffreyWeissman.com. Thank you so much for being on the program, pal.
Love you, TC, and I mean it.
I know.